Shalom. Following Yeshua. Welcome again to the Rock. Got live stream tonight. We're talking about two different things. One, we're going to talk about reaping what you sown, seed time, and harvest. The other thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about I asked a question about shepherding. So we'll take probably 15-20 minutes, maybe half an hour, talk about that topic of shepherding. I get a lot of comments and a lot of questions about that. We'll read it. We'll read it. We're going to read what the word says. So it's not a whole lot of pontification. It's not going to be a lot of my opinion. It's going to be what the book says. Second thing is window of opportunity. That's what this video is about. In the story of Joseph, there were 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. You notice what Joseph did? When he got the warning, when he interpreted the dream, Pharaoh asked what could he do. You notice that Pharaoh's response was immediately, what can we do about what we are seeing? It wasn't I'm going to wait, we're going to figure it out. It was what are we going to do? Immediately. That was the 7 years of plenty. At the start of 7 years of plenty. He didn't wait for the famine to hit before he started getting himself ready for the famine. He didn't say, okay, now that the famine's here, let's start figuring out a way to navigate through it. You see, when the window of opportunity was open, he made a move, just like 5 wise and 5 foolish virgins. When the call went out, the bridegroom is coming. Go meet him. Not sit on your ass and the bridegroom's going to come to you. The bridegroom is coming. Go get off your ass and go meet him. Only the 5 with the oil were able to meet the bridegroom. The other 5 had to go to the shut door and try to enter in through the shut door. You see, there's an opportunity, there's a time when doors are open. There's a time when Yahweh may be found. And there's times that you ain't gonna find them, no matter how hard you look. There's times when the door is shut, and we've been graced and mercied to death to believe that we have all the time in the world. Whenever we feel like getting ourselves ready, we're going to show up, and he's going to accept us. We're going to show up, the bridegroom's going to open up the door. We're going to start preparing, and Yah's going to bless us. He's going to bless us with food. See, right now there's an economic famine taking place, and most people did not make the moves during the 7 years of plenty. So now it's the 7 years of famine coming. When Walmart has a hiring freeze, they're not hiring people, and I got this from a friend that works high up. A hiring freeze, and they're cutting hours. Part-timers who were working 40 and 48 hours a week, 16. Part-timers, they were working part-time and picking up days, because of course you know how it is. When the money is good, overtime is good. You live according to that overtime. So if you're working 48 hours, I learned this from working in the hospital. Nurses would work 60 hours a week, and rather than put that extra money away, that overtime money, what they would do is they would live they would live as if they were working 60 hours a week. So they spent every dime, nickel, and penny they got. They put nothing away. So then, when the hospital census was low, and they were, they're back to working their 40 hours a week, they couldn't afford to pay their bills. Because they were so used to working 60 hours a week that they upped their expenditures to that 20 hours of overtime. You get what I'm saying? But now that's what happened for a lot of people at your local Walmart. So people who were I'm making just fine. I'm making $17 an hour at Walmart. I'm making $18 an hour at Wiener Central or whatever the stores were called. They were spending that money left and right. Now a lot of these places are part-timing everybody. Well, they were hired as part-timers, but they're officially paying them part-time, working them part-time. And it's hurting them. They can't afford 16 hours to live on 16 hours a week when they were used to living on 40 to 48 hours a week. Economic famine is coming. And with that economic famine, a lot of other things are going to be scarce. People aren't going to have the disposable money anymore. See, and this problem was started because people did not take heed during the 7 years of plenty. They waited for the famine. They waited for a time of famine to come, and then they tried to get themselves ready. That is the most foolish thing that is taking place right now. Is people are not making moves in times of plenty. They refuse to. They didn't want to come out in times of plenty. They didn't want to make moves in times of plenty. They didn't want to sacrifice in times of plenty. They didn't want to save in times of plenty. When times of plenty were there, they were eating, they were living it up. They weren't concerned about their storehouse at all. Now that the problems are arising, now that the economic famine is coming, everybody is concerned about their storehouses. They don't got none. Now suddenly, things like, I want to be covered, are important. Now, people are reaping what they've sown. They are literally reaping what they've sown because the time of opportunity was there. There was space and an opportunity. There was a time that you could have, you should have had your oil. So when the bridegroom came, bam, you ready. Instead, everyone's trying to run and get their oil now. And they're finding out that the people that sell the oil don't even have the oil. So now it's kind of, they're stuck with, okay, well, I'm just going to pray. And that's a sad thing that I'm seeing right now is most of the people who have not made moves right now are just falling into this hyper spirituality because they didn't make moves. They did not care about the physical. First that which is natural, then that which is spiritual. Like I've said many times before, you eat spirit. The Bible is physical and it's spiritual. It's a practical book. That people in the Bible actually were shepherds. They weren't just spiritual shepherds. The men in the Bible were actually fathers. They weren't spiritual fathers. The men actually planted fields. They weren't spiritual fields. They were actually planting real food in the ground. When there was starvation in the land, when there was famine in the land, it was an actual real famine. It was a famine for bread. Some get caught up, there's going to be a famine for the word. Yes, there's going to be a famine for the word. But what you're looking right now is people's famine for the word. They're going to want the word. They're going to hear the word. But when you don't eat, people are going to sacrifice their morals, their ethics. They're going to sacrifice what they believe, which is supposed to be this book. When you ain't eating and there's that top ramen shrimp flavored, you're going to eat that shrimp. When that's a squirrel that's being passed to you, a rabbit that's being passed to you, you're going to eat that squirrel and that rabbit. You're going to compromise your beliefs. You might just steal. You might just be put in a position you may have to steal and kill from your own brother to eat. Well, I would never do that. We're already seeing it happen. Already seeing people compromise what they believe. I got to work on the Shabbat because if I don't, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. If they say if I don't come in on Saturday, I'm going to lose my job. It's already happening. When the time of plenty was here, why weren't you making moves? I tell sisters, when men had their houses open, why didn't you make the move? Why did you have to wait to find out that what you were doing was not going to freaking work? Why did you have to wait to find out what you were doing was bullshit before you decided, you know what, maybe I should line up with what, the book says? Man, why did you wait to get oil? Why did you wait to make sure you had food in your storehouse? Why didn't you do it initially when you heard of a famine, when you heard that this is 7 years of plenty? You had watchmen tell you 7 years of plenty. You didn't want to hear that because you were able to go out and spend $1,000 on rims. Well, some people were spending $1,000 on food. You were going out and eating all sorts of fancy foods in fancy restaurants so you can try to impress a woman. Well, some of us were saving up our pennies, nickels, and dimes, paying off land at 12 and 13 bucks an hour. See, the excuses aren't there. The excuses aren't there. It says in Apocrypha, I believe it's the Apocrypha in Ecclesiasticus, a wicked man finds an excuse according to his will. Those excuses ain't gonna feed you. Now there's a famine for the word. And now people are actually going hungry. People are actually homeless. So yes, there's a famine for the word. But first, there's a natural lack of food that is coming. There's a natural economic crisis coming that is going to affect a lot of people spiritually. Bless y'all. Hope to see y'all tonight. 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Shalom.